Hey, nice to see you. It's Grandma Ninja again. And today we have a moose story. Look at that moose. What is that stuff hanging from his head? And oh man, I just got a whiff of him. He really smells bad. My goodness, I don't know what this story is going to be about. It is, other than it's a story about a moose. It's called Mucky Moose. Mucky Moose is the smelliest moose in the forest. This book is written by Jonathan Allen. And what's really interesting about this book is that Mr. Allen did the words and the pictures. Usually books are written by one person and the illustrations are somebody else. But this guy is so talented that he did both the pictures and the words. And I really like the pictures. Here's the Mucky Moose. Can you see? He's got all that stuff on him, just like our puppet. He's covered with muck. In the tall, dark forests of the north, there lived a moose. His name was Mucky. He was called Mucky because, well, he was mucky. The muckiest, smelliest moose that ever lived. Now there was a muddy swamp up there in the north where every moose liked to wallow. They liked to chew the greens, but some parts of it were so smelly that nobody ever went to them. That was Mucky's favorite part. Mucky was so smelly that he attracted flies from all over everywhere. And because birds like to eat flies and frogs like to eat flies, Mucky had a bunch of bird friends who sat in his antlers to catch the flies, and frog friends who sat on his face to eat the flies. Besides having birds and frogs for friends, because he was so smelly, there was one other kind of animal in the forest who really admired Mucky Moose. Who do you think that was? What animal gets to be really smelly, stinky? Would it be maybe the skunks? Skunks can be really stinky, but they had never smelled anyone as stinky as Mucky Moose. They admired him so much and thought he was just fabulous. They really, really liked him, and every time he came by, they gave him a huge round of applause. Now, in the woods, besides the birds and the frogs and the skunks and the moose, there lived a bunch of wolves. And wolves who live in the forest have to find something to eat themselves. And one of the things that wolves love to eat are moose, because they're so big. They can all eat on the moose. Now, one of the wolves was really big, and one day he was really hungry. So he thought, I'm going to go eat that Mucky Moose. He's the biggest moose in the forest, and I'm the biggest wolf in the forest, and I'm going to eat him. So he went down the path, and Mucky Moose is coming home from the lake, and the wolf says, he's standing down upwind, so he can't smell Mucky at this point. And he says, I'm going to eat you right now. And Mucky says, how interesting, but I'm afraid that doesn't fit into my plans today. The wolf said, I'm going to eat you. But just then, the wind changed direction. He drew himself up to leap on Mucky, but when he smelled him, he stopped. He gasped. He turned green, then he turned yellow, then he turned green again. He flopped right over on his back and passed right out. It was the most disgusting smell ever. And, wolves have very sensitive noses, so this was a big problem. Not hungry anymore, Mucky chuckled, and he stepped right over the moose and continued going home for the evening. When the wolf recovered, he was so mad. He was furious. He growled. He thought and thought, and he thought, I'll get that moose. So 2 days later, as Mucky's coming home down the path, he meets the wolf again. And this time the wolf has a clothespin clipping his nose shut so he can't smell anything. And the wolf says, I'm going to be my dinner. Well, with your nose plugged, you can't really talk. Mucky said, you're going to do what? And the wolf said, I'm going to eat you for my dinner. Mucky says, I'm sorry, but I can't understand a word that you're saying with that thing on your nose. So the wolf took the pin off of his nose, took a deep breath so he could growl, and inhaled a whole lungful of the smell of Mucky Moose. Oh my goodness, it was worse than the last time because he breathed so deeply. He turned bright green, and then he turned bright yellow, and then he turned yellow green, and he gasped, and he flopped over, and he passed out for 3 whole days. Oh dear, said Mucky Moose as he stepped over the wolf and continued his stroll through the forest. Poor Wolfie's been taken ill. What a shame. Wolf was so sick that he ended up in bed for 3 days. But he plotted and planned to get that moose. He was determined to eat that big moose. So, the next day, after the wolf recovered, as the moose was walking home from his wallow, he was surprised to see the wolf again. This time, the wolf was wearing a gas mask. Look at that. It covers his nose and his mouth and goes over his head. It's a great big old gas mask so he can breathe. Lots of people are wearing masks right now, but not like that. Woohoo! Can you hear me? Aha! He cried in a muffled voice. I've got you now, Mucky Moose. You be prepared to be my dinner. It's about time. I say I'm going to eat you. I'm going to leap up and eat you right now. The wolf drew himself up to his full height and just roared. Of course, you couldn't hear his roar because it was covered by the mask. Sorry, Mr. Wolf, said Mucky, but how are you going to bite me with that mask on your face? The wolf hadn't thought of that, had he? The mask was covering up his teeth. He wouldn't be able to open up his jaw to bite Mucky. So he hadn't really thought about that because thinking was just not his strong suit. He was much more into action. "Arr!" he said in frustration, and he tore the gas mask off his face. Smell or no smell, I'm going to eat you, and I'm going to eat you right now. With that, he roared, and he leapt right at Mucky Moose, and he got so close this time, he was right over his head. When the smell of that moose hit him, he turned not only green and yellow, he turned purple. His tail spun, his jaw dropped, his legs, his knees buckled, and he fell to the ground in a dead faint. For the 3rd time he fell over. Mucky shrugged, shook his head, stepped over the wolf's body, and continued on his way. Now, the poor wolf had had just about enough of this. Rawr. Were you exhausted? Were you embarrassed? What did you do? Oh, he moved to the city. He decided that being a ferocious wolf was clearly not his strong suit. Instead, he moved to the city and went to school to be a seeing eye wolf. And he became very nice and helpful, yes. And his owner fed him nice dog food so that he didn't have to go hunting after Mucky Moose anymore. He was just a nice, friendly, gigantic wolf. And Mucky, he was fine. He got to stay and wallow in the pond with his friends, with the skunk and the birds and the frogs. And he didn't have any problems from the wolf anymore. So, Mucky, you think you're pretty tough, huh? No? Not tough? No? No? Yes? No? What does it matter? Oh, you're not tough. You're just smelly. Are you friendly? I don't think we're going to be friends, though, because I really don't want to hold you this close. You're really kind of smelly. You want to get closer, I know, but you're just, I think, guys, I'm going to have to leave because he smells so bad. I'm going to pass out.